Up front, let's talk about Grok 3, Elon Musk's latest AI experiment. It's behaving less like a chatbot. It's more like your unfiltered, no-holds-barred friend at a late-night hangout, an adda even. So while some might find all of this hilarious, others are wondering, really, is AI finally off the rails? This chatbot that we're talking about, it's built on xAI's Colossus supercomputer. Musk has called it scary smart, but really, is it too smart for its own good? Beyond the sharp-tongued quips that we've seen in Hindi, there are serious concerns that are surfacing, misinformation being one, bias being another, even legal accountability is on the table right now for discussion. So if Grok 3 swears at you, who do you actually sue? Just to break down the business and tech implications of Grok's wild ways, we're joined by Josh Koren. He is the founder and CIO at Musketeer Capital Partners. Josh, welcome to India Tonight here on ET Now. You know, these AI chatbots, they're becoming more and more human-like by the day. You see this as the natural evolution of AI, or are we creating something that we may not be able to control?
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. First and foremost, it's great to be in front of your audience. I appreciate it. So I think that this is definitely the future of these chatbots. They want to become more realistic. They want to make them more human-like, less kind of woke, less politically correct, more correct. So the way that Grok works, internally is kind of programmed to be anti-woke, and that's Elon Musk, right? It's part of his whole kind of mantra. So we weren't surprised to see that. But this is what we think that the future is, because people are just kind of tired of the politically correct, scripted everything, and they want just kind of real,
Indeed, but Elon Musk has always pushed for free speech in AI, Josh. But is this really about freedom, is what I want to ask you? Or is it just a clever way to shake up regulators?
No, I mean, I don't think that it's really just to shake up regulators. I think it's more economic. So if you think about Elon Musk, his businesses have exposure to two real factors before this, right? First, advertising at Twitter, and then second, just automobile sales, right, at Tesla. And if you look at the two of those things, both of them are medium growth businesses, both have reasonable markets that are penetrated, but it's nothing too exciting. I think he felt like Twitter would get left behind if Grok was not developed. So he needed to have generative AI in his portfolio to really maintain his status as kind of cutting edge. And it will help with Twitter's whole product offering as well. And obviously the X Premium gives you access to Grok. So, we think that it was first and foremost kind of economic. Second, I don't know that it was really to shake up regulators, but for sure they wanted to make a point that, listen, this is not going to be, a woke, politically correct version of this. And that's just, again, his whole mantra. And, third, I think it is to kind of emphasize free speech, and they're very anti-regulation. So again, it's Elon Musk's mantra as a whole.
But here's what Grok 3 is doing, Josh. It's mimicking local slang, which has made it widely popular in India right now. Is this an innovation win, according to you, or do you think this is a dangerous precedent for this kind of personalization when we talk about artificial intelligence? Is that a dangerous precedent?
No, I think it's a win. I mean, for sure. I mean, listen, in everything that develops, it has to become more localized, more niche-like, right? Otherwise, it's not relevant. So, somebody's going to do it. So if you have something where the answers are just kind of cookie cutter, old English kind of across the landscape, right? It's boring, and people don't feel like it really relates to them, and people engage with things the most that actually relate to who they are, right? So if you think about it, when you have something that uses local dialect and local slang, people that are reading it in those localities feel more comfortable reading it because they're thinking to themselves, wow, this sounds like me, right? So I think it's important. I think it's smart, because in the end of the day, any internet platform has one goal: engagement. And then the business function is to monetize that engagement. So if engagement on the platform is higher when they're using localized slang because it makes people feel like it relates more to them, then I think it's a brilliant idea, and I'm sure that we're going to see more of that to come.
But is there a cost for this kind of engagement? Like you said, it's pure economics at work where Elon Musk is concerned. You did mention about X, and he doesn't want X to be left behind in the social media game. Now with AI and Grok 3, it's trained its content. It's being able to pull it from X, a platform not exactly known for nuance. So should AI developers, according to you, be required to disclose any built-in biases? Because that's where some of these problems lie, where we're talking about all of the content that is being spewed out.
Yeah, I like that thought. So disclosing built-in biases in the algorithm, I think, is important. This way people just know that what they're getting. I think that the key for people is that they trust that when they use generative AI, right, they are getting something that is pure, that is unalterated, that is real. But if there are guideposts in there that regulate the content, right, I think it's important that those nuances are disclosed to the user so that the user can factor that into their trust equation for the platform as a whole.
Meanwhile, companies like OpenAI are keeping their AI responses rather tightly controlled, while Grok 3, on the other hand, is making it more raw and real, like we were just discussing. So do you think this unfiltered approach is going to attract more users? Because, yes, it is that much more. Like you said, the users are finding the language coming through in a Grok 3 that much more relatable. Or do you think this is going to scare off investors?
We think that it does attract more users for sure. Definitely attracts more users. I think that again, it's about relatability and engagement. So when people relate strongly to a particular platform or a particular product, right, they engage stronger with the platform or the product, right? So I think that if people have a choice to become a user on a platform that uses that localized version of slang and everything that's relatable, right, or a version that doesn't, I think for sure they're going to go towards a more localized version. So I think that it will help them gain users. Yes, definitely.
But Josh, here's the reason why I asked this in particular, because AI-generated content, already now we're seeing it getting used more and more in journalism, in finance, in marketing. So businesses need to ensure credibility. When AI can hallucinate, it can even mislead. How do you draw the balance?
For sure. But I mean, so can a person, right? So if you're getting information from a normal person, right, they can also mislead you. So who is more likely to mislead you, a computer or a person? Well, it goes into emotion, right? And people have things like character, depth, emotion, right, that influences their, decision making. I think that on a computer, it's more cut and dry vanilla. So I think that, what you have is something where the computer, being biased or making that kind of mistake or misleading is probably less likely than a person doing it. I think these are just margin of error that's going to be in kind of any output, but I'm not overly concerned about that because, like I said a couple of times, I think we've all been lied to by people as well.
AI create art, music, even entire games, Josh. Who owns these creations then? Musk's XAI or the users who prompt the AI for the kind of responses that come through?
Well, I mean, I guess it's XAI. I mean, it's not open source, but I think that, as a whole, they have to credit the users, right? Because how does an AI platform get stronger? Well, it gets stronger through repetition, right? And through repetition, something gets stronger. And what ultimately ends up happening is it builds its knowledge database even more, and that's credit to the user. So the longer that it's available and the more reps it gets, the stronger the platform is going to be getting. So the credit really should go to the users, but in reality it will go to X.
Josh, if AI starts replacing Google, what happens to traditional search engines?
If AI starts replacing Google, well, I think that's why you're seeing Google and all of these search engines invest in AI, right? So this way they have a backstop for that. But in the end of the day, it's all kind of the same. It can't replace Google because you have to put in the input. So while Google has a search algorithm that's different, as long as Google can layer AI on top of their search algorithm, they'll always keep up because on the front end, they have so many contracts with smartphone manufacturers and with end market consumer products that they're just natively built in. So there's just, no other way. And we think that AI is not definitely a threat to Google. I think Google will be around, but in a version that includes AI, and that's what you're seeing now.
Well, Josh, these are fascinating insights. Thanks very much for decoding the puzzle that AI is creating for us. We'll have to wait and see whether Musk's latest experiment is going to turn into a revolution or a regulatory nightmare. But thanks very much for joining us and putting that in context for us. We're also